the movie, yeah, right.
Having been a big fan of 70s films, having grown up with 70s films, there's a look and a feel to them that, as I've said before, I wasn't trying to recreate that look, but there's a sensibility that I knew Bill Butler would have. That was the sensibility I was looking for. There's a glossy, shiny look to a lot of films today, a very kind of commercial look to films that's not as appealing to me for the stories that I want to tell. There are a handful of directors of photography that I've always admired that are still around, that are still working, that are still vital and creative, and Bill Butler's one of them. And it just turned out to be good timing. He'd just come off a project. We sat down to meet, and it was kind of funny. I think at first he was a little apprehensive. Who's this young guy, doesn't even know my work. And once I started talking about why I wanted him to shoot the film and what I admired about the conversation and Jaws and even more recently Frailty and how he used light and I'm very specific with my compositions and my cutting and my and the light and everything that's in the frame. I'm very, very specific about that. And I knew Bill Butler would appreciate or at least be in sync on some level, which isn't to say on set we didn't have differing opinions or butt heads or fight over what was best and what was I tend to like a certain amount of close-ups, especially I love widescreen. I wanted to shoot this 240 and Super 35 to get that little extra bit of grain and Bill and I sometimes fought over close-ups. He would much rather not get too close, especially with the widescreen format up there on a big screen, where I, also have my, love of Sergio Leone films and a lot of French cinema, which isn't afraid to sort of get in there and get close. So once in a while we butt heads, but it was always in like a positive, creative, half-joking sort of way. And I could not be more thrilled with what we were able to create. And he has this sort of magic of not only being just a super nice guy, like just a sweet, easy to get along with guy. He's also the ultimate professional. First one on the set, last one off the set, completely prepared. But he can also create lighting that should take hours to do, but takes him just minutes. He's got so many tricks up his sleeve, so many incredible that, it was great watching the camera crew who had never worked with him before kind of, be amazed. They were constantly talking about, did you see what he did there? Did you see, how did he do that? I never would have thought of, so even they were kind of blown away by his technique. And the images are very much what I had seen in my head. Again, I'm very specific about what I want, so there's not a moment where I'm not looking through the camera or the monitor or, throwing my storyboards in front of Bill, trying to force him to take a look so that we're on the same page. I loved working with him. And I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled that I was able to actually work with someone who I have admired for such a long time.
There's a scene that's been included that wasn't in the main release. The character that Brittany Scobie plays, Claire, when she discovers her mother that has been murdered and she has to take the life of a small child. It's pretty horrifying in and of itself, but there's this wonderful long shot as Claire is smothering this child. It's just pure subtlety, and it's so intense. Just the camera's trained on her face for, I swear, it's 90 seconds. And you just get to see every single emotion she's going through in the most subtle flickers.
It's one of the things you actually want in a movie. You want kind of scenes that people are going to talk about. You want scenes that are actually going to have this kind of impact. That's a very powerful scene and horrifying, but not exploitive because you're not seeing the result of the violence, but you're feeling it, and you definitely sense what it's costing, her. So once again, that's like a money shot to me that you would eliminate that or tone that down, because that's kind of part of, once again, what the film's tapestry is, and it's a powerful moment, and it's it's a great one shot kind of moment. I think an audience watching that would respond to it in whatever way. There would be some kind of collective response to that scene. But just to reduce it down to to cut it out or to change it or to backpedal on what it is just doesn't make any sense to me at all. Plague is very European, and another aspect of it is that it would go very well in Europe because it is built on a much more subtle build-up than a lot of horror movies, and has ideas that thematically Europeans are willing to tolerate and to work with in horror films, and they have a much broader sense of horror over there also, and it's not so limited as it is here. Not to say they don't, they love, Dawn of the Dead as much as anybody, or whatever, but there definitely is a more abstract tone you can get by with in European films and filmmakers, and the Plague definitely has that kind of element to it because of its nature, and the compositions and the tone of the film, and the way the scenes are, the film's rhythm is not European in the sense of like a long foreign film, but just that it's more willing to let things happen and let you figure them out and not hand you everything.
I'm someone who